So this Daniel Penny guy got acquitted in New York, which I totally agree with. I think this McNeely guy or whatever was definitely putting people in fear of their lives, and it wasn't intentional that he died. And of course, you got his family out there crying. The dad saying he missed his son. Yet your son was homeless. You weren't obviously letting him live with you. But I think the fact that you got people from BLM out there protesting this just shows that the organization's a grift, and it wants attention, and it's all about propaganda. What's really irritating is that the benefit of the doubt in these situations is just totally eliminated. The assumption that all these kind of situations are based on racism and have to do with race, and to have any other kind of conclusion is just false. So it's like you got this situation, or a situation involving a police officer like the George Floyd thing, or what have you. You can have a situation like this where, like, let's say the police officer can be in the wrong. He did something he wasn't supposed to, and it still not be related to race. It's very possible. To race or some kind of unconscious bias. Some unconscious, racism or racial bias or something. It's like these, I think that's one of the reasons that you got a buffoon con man like Trump, an obvious bad person. But, you don't even have to argue with people about it anymore. Some of them, they're totally ignorant and tuned out, or they just don't give a fuck what a piece of shit Trump is. But I think it's one of the reasons he got elected, because this racializing everything. And people use the term DEI a little too much, but the racial quotas and all this, people just aren't down with this stuff. It's like, lowering academic standards to make things more equal. It's just a good example of the soft bigotry, low expectations. Trying to say that black or Hispanic people, they can't make the cut for this and that, so we got to lower academic standards to get into certain colleges or elite schools or whatever. It's just really sad. There's definitely a pendulum. And I will say, I've changed my views somewhat. I do think the fact that Kamala lost, I think there obviously is a little misogyny and perhaps racism involved in that, because you got young men or something saying that, they didn't want to vote for a woman. And if it had been anybody else but Trump, then I kind of probably would have been like, you want to vote for an obviously incompetent, obviously fucking stupid con man like Trump, who obviously lies every other sentence and doesn't give a fuck about you and is all about corporate interest and all that. You want to vote for him over Kamala. I think that shows there is, an element of misogyny and what have you in this society. But at the same time, people throw this fucking word around too much. Like somebody said that if you think Daniel Penny should have been acquitted, if you agree with it, that he was acquitted, then you got racism in your heart. The funny thing is, if it would have been a homeless white guy, it would have been the same exact situation. And he would have died. You wouldn't even hear about it in the fucking news because the guy wasn't black.